Okay, welcome back to Math 65. We're going to talk about number 3, finding the equation of the line that passes through the following points. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. I'll show one of the ways. So because I don't have these numbers on a graph, of course you can graph these two ordered pair, or you can use the slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's going to give us our rise over run because that's the difference in the y values. The change in the y is how far you go up or down on the graph, and the difference in the x values is how much you go over. So now I take my points, I label this x1, y1, just because that's the first point. This one is x2, y2. And then I just literally plug them in. I have y2 is 3 minus y1 is 5, x2 is 1, and x1 is minus negative 2. So it's really important to do that minus negative step so that you end up getting here a positive. So we're going to have 3 minus 5 is negative 2, and then 1 minus negative 2 is the same thing as add the opposite, and that's 3. So that's my slope right there, okay, is negative 2/3. Now, a couple of different ways. You could use, you might remember y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is what we call the point slope form. Point slope form. Okay, and I can literally take, actually it doesn't mean I don't have to take the first point. I can take the second point, just one of the points and plug it in, and the slope. So we have the m. So we're going to have y minus, in fact, since these are both positive, I'm going to use this point as my x1, y1 for this example. Y minus 3 equals negative 2/3 times x minus 1. Okay, that right there is point slope form, but we usually want the equation in slope y-intercept form. So that's y equals mx plus b. So in order to get this into slope y-intercept form, I would need to distribute, and then I would need to add 3 to both sides. So let me distribute first. Y minus 3 equals negative 2/3 times x. So there's our slope next to the x. Negative times a negative is a positive 2/3. Now I'm going to be adding 3 to both sides. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3 2/3. 3 2/3, of course, I could always make that into an improper fraction as well. I'll save that for another conversation. Okay, so that's the equation of that line that passes through these 2 points. All right, let's look at the next one. So I have x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to calculate the slope first. M equals 3 minus 5 over negative 2 minus, oops, I didn't mean to put that in parentheses, minus negative 2. It's not times. Okay, there's a minus in between. So remember what happens with our signs. We're going to have negative 2 over negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Now what happens when we divide by 0? We get undefined. So our slope is undefined, which means this is what kind of line? This is a vertical line. And the equation will be x equals negative 2. Because you notice in both sets of ordered pairs, the x is equal to negative 2. If I were to graph that on the axis above, it would look like this. A vertical line crossing through x equals negative 2, because all along that vertical line, all of the x coordinates are going to be equal to negative 2. Now let's look at the next one, and you might kind of already predict what's going on here, and you might notice, but let's go ahead and just use the formula. M equals, this is x1, y1, x2, y2, 3 minus 3 over 1 minus negative 2. 3 minus 3 is 0. 1 minus negative 2 is 3. And anytime we divide into 0, we get 0. Because if you think about it like money, you have $0, you divide it by 3 people. How much does each person get? They each get $0. So here the slope is 0. And if you think about a slope that's 0, that's actually going to be a horizontal. You see I'm using the horizontal line as part of the H. A horizontal line, y equals 0x, which is the same thing as 0. Notice that they both have y coordinates that include 3. That's going to be plus 3, which is the same thing as y equals 3. In fact, most people do not put the 0x. I just wanted to emphasize the point about that's where the slope would go. And so that's why you can remember that y equals 3 is going to be a horizontal line. If we were to graph y equals 3, we would go and we would draw a horizontal line all along where y is equal to 3. Because once you go up from the origin, you're going up to y equals 3. All along that line, all the coordinates are going to have here 2, 3, 6, 3, right? Negative 4, 3. All the y coordinates there are 3, and there's no rise. It's only an infinite amount of run. Okay. And finally, talking about number 4, I'll do that on the next video.